What's up, everybody? This is Tom Taylor with South China Morning Post, SCMP Martial Arts, joined today by one of my favorite people to talk to in this sport, the former lightweight champion, Edward Folayang. Edward, how's life? How's everything going?
Everything's going well. It's Holy Week this season in our country, and everybody's enjoying it.
Good, good. I'm glad
It's
to
a
hear that.
very long holiday.
That's great to hear. I'm happy to hear that. It's been a couple of weeks since you fought John Wayne Parr in one Super Series at 1X. Now that you've had a little bit of time to kind of think about the win, digest the excitement of that week, how are you feeling about the performance you gave us in that fight?
Oh, of course, I'm so happy with my performance. Having the time with a legend makes it more meaningful, and I really enjoy the fight. John Wayne is a very good fighter, and experiencing fighting him is a different kind of excitement, and I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it because I was there in the building and I really enjoyed it too. I think everyone else in the building really enjoyed it. It was just an incredible fight. Now, I talked to you before the fight, and I don't want to suggest you thought you were going to lose or anything like that, but you were very realistic about, I think, what you were doing. You were going into a new sport. I think you recognized the risks. Having said that, how do you feel about the way things went? Were you able to do the things you wanted to do? Were you surprised by anything John did? I mean, how did it go compared to your expectations?
Well, of course, I know that John is a legend. Although, of course, I watched his last fight, and there's a lot of changes going on in his part. But I know that in his retirement fight, he will do a lot of adjustment, and he really did good well. I wasn't. I'm a little bit excited and surprised when I vote him because it's not the fight that I saw in him in his last fight. There's a lot of adjustment he been through, and of course, I'm aware of that, but of course, I'm a little bit surprised.
He gave it his all for sure. It was an amazing
Yeah, yeah.
performance from both of you guys. Now, it was a Muay Thai fight, of course, under Muay Thai rules, but we got to see lots of spins from you. Um, to me, it looked like a great showcase for Wushu. Do you feel like you really got to kind of show off what Wushu can do in this fight?
Yes, of course, being a martial artist, you don't worry about takedowns. You don't worry about going to the ground, and you're free to give it all. Although, of course, there's a little bit worries on my part because I know that it's his world, and I know for sure that I need to be a little bit cautious on my part.
Well said. You haven't quite got the results you wanted in your last few MMA fights, but this fight went very well for you. Having said that, I mean, how good did it feel to get back into the win column against a guy like John Wayne Parr?
Well, it gives a lot of confidence on my part. There's a lot of things that I can do in the striking department of MMA, and I really need to learn from this, and those areas that I need to put a lot of time and effort. I need to think of that when I will be going to MMA. I think that's the biggest thing that I learned from this fight. Going into MMA, I really need to focus on those areas where I'm very vulnerable.
Well, I mean, it was an amazing performance from you, and it should give you a lot of confidence as you look to return to MMA. I think. Just speaking of John Wayne Parr a little bit more, there were quite a few people mentioned as possibilities for his last fight. There was some talk about Dan Hardy being the opponent, but in the end, you got the call, and then you two deliver this amazing fight. What did it mean to you in the end to be the last person John Wayne Parr fought? And years down the road, how will you look back on this fight you had with him?
Well, of course, it means a lot to me. A lot of people wants to fight GW. Even in the social media, they are calling out to be his last opponent, but the opportunity was given to me. So when it was first asked me if I can be able to fight him in one super series, then I didn't hesitate to be, his last opponent, because I know there's a lot of things that I can learn from this man. He's been in the sport for a very long time, period of time, and he's a legend of this sport. And fighting him in his own world will be a great learning experience for me, and it really did well. So I'm just very lucky, of course, for having that experience, and having that learning lesson from him. And I'm just very grateful to one championship, and for the opportunity to face one of the face of the Muay Thai sport.
You mentioned there are a lot of things you can learn from a guy like Wayne Parr. I mean, is there anything off the top of your head that you can learn about being a martial artist from him?
Yeah, being a martial artist, one of the things that I learned from John Wayne is, the killer instinct. You really need to kill that opportunity. If you have to, you need to grab it and finish it. And one more thing that I learned from John Wayne is his humility. Humility to not to underestimate every opponent that will come on your way.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the two great big lessons that I learned from GW.
Yeah, those are great lessons. After the fight, you mentioned that you're interested in fighting Sage Northcutt in a sort of wushu versus karate fight. And we spoke to Chatri after the event had concluded, and he seemed to really like that idea. I mean, first of all, how long have you been thinking about that? Did you have that idea sort of prepared before the John Wayne Parr fight?
Oh no, I'm supposed to be fighting Sage in in MMA, but I think there's some probably reasons that they gave to. That's why when they offered the GW fight, I get it. So probably we can be able to do it in. On the interview, this idea pops up into my mind if I can be able to fight him in still in one super series in karate versus wushu idea in a different world. So it's 50-50, there's no huge advantage in both of us. So I suggested that idea. If they are willing to, then I think it's a win-win for both of us.
And as I said, Chatri did seem kind of excited about that idea when the media asked him about it after the fight. Have you heard anything from Chatri or the One Championship team that kind of gives you the sense that this fight could actually happen?
For now, the media keeps talking a lot about it, and I'm excited. When they will give the contract for me to sign it for the fight, then yeah, I know that it will be going to happen, and I'm waiting for it.
And if it does happen, how do you see that one going?
If it does happen, of course, there's a lot of adjustment for him and for me. But at the end of the day, of course, he will be carrying his own signature moves in karate, and I will be carrying my own signature moves in wushu. And I think it will be a lot of excitement, because we will be diving into another world where we will be using the traditional ways where we are used into.
I mean, I think it's such an awesome idea. When you suggested it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a great fight." It makes so much sense for both of you guys. I think maybe you should be a one championship matchmaker at some point. And another fight that
Thank you.
I've seen people mentioning for you possibly is a fight with Yoshihiro Akiyama, whether it's in MMA or Super Series. Is that one you'd be interested in?
Yeah, yeah, Sexyama, we are also been contracted to fight, but he was injured, so it didn't happen, and that's the time where we have a trilogy with what's that guy, with Shinya.
Mhm.
with Shinya.
Mhm.
So I think it will be really a great fight when they will match that up in MMA because we have the very same identical way of finishing Shinya. And if that fight happens, I will be very happy because that's one of the match that I'm looking into. Legend versus Legend 2, Part 2.
Yeah, it's definitely legend versus legend. I hadn't thought of that. You both finished Shinya pretty much the exact same way, didn't you? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. If you will review the fight, it's the same.
Yeah, yeah, very cool.
Very
Well, it
the
seems
same.
like you've got some very exciting options in Super Series, but you are an MMA guy. It's safe to say that you are looking to return to MMA sometime in the near future.
Yeah, yeah, of course, it's really the name where they called me the face of Philippine MMA. So of course, I'm excited in new ventures, but I really need to still carry that name.
You are definitely the face of Filipino MMA. There's no denying that. As you look to return to MMA, who would you like to fight? Would Akiyama, Sexyama be the number one choice? Is there anybody else that you're interested in?
Yeah, of course, for me right now, I'm looking into that, either Sexyama or Sage.
Okay.
Probably
So
Sage is number two because it's MMA, we can both do MMA or one super series.
right, right. Shifting gears a little bit, your teammate Stephen Loman had a big win on the same card as you. Thoughts on his performance? What did you think of the performance he gave us that night?
Well, of course, a lot of people are like to be more entertaining. The fight will be more entertaining, but they are, I think, they are more on the counter fighters.
Hmm.
They like more that their opponent will be more aggressive and then they can counter. I think that's the problem that come into that fight with his opponent. So if you come to observe the fight, it's more on that each one of them are waiting to be the one to initiate the offensive way, and uh, that makes it more a little bit boring for some.
Hmm.
But for me, I'm still impressed with the performance of Laman. He still managed to get the win he still managed to show how good he is in the ground.
And it was a short notice fight too. I think he performed very well considering
Yeah, yeah,
he didn't
that's
have a
the thing.
ton of time. Probably goes without saying, given that he's a friend of yours and your teammate, but you expect that he's a future champion in the bantamweight division.
Of course, he, there's looking into his attitude in the training. He's very diligent and he always keeps the pace. So I think that's the character that he have to be a champion someday.
There's a lot of great young fighters at Team Lakai these days. A lot of really exciting young Filipino fighters rising up through the ranks. And I've spoken to you before about how important that is to you to inspire the next generation of young Filipino fighters. When you see all these fighters from your country coming up and making noise and getting wins in one championship, how do you feel? How does that make you feel?
I feel great, that's the reason we are here, not just to be famous, but to pass on also the inspiration to others that they can be able to unleash those greatness that they have. Of course, that's the thing, I'm very happy to see them doing the things that they love and making it great in the bigger platform rather than just in a small pond.
Okay, well, I know you're a busy man, Edward. So let me just ask you one more question before I let you go. You've got a lot of options suddenly. You're back in the win column. You've got Super Series options. You've got MMA options. What does the perfect 2022 look like for you? What do you hope to accomplish before this year's over?
Of course, my goal for this year is to be closer to the title. of course, there's a lot of work to be done there. And of course, in one Super Series, I will need to fight more names that can be able to put me in the circles. Right now, the very thing that I'm into is to how to polish my skills and to be more dominant in every opponent that I can be able to face.